In the last tutorial, you learned about the like operator in SQL. So as another example, let's say we want to search for the customers who have the word filled in their last name. So we type out a where clause like this, where last name like percent filled percent. So the word filled can be anywhere in the last name. Let's execute this query. We get only one customer. Beautiful. Now we also have another operator in MySQL that is REGEXP, which is short for regular expression. And regular expressions are extremely powerful when it comes to searching for strings. So they allow us to search for more complex patterns. Here's an example. If I want to rewrite this last where clause using a regular expression, it looks like this. Where last name, REGEXP. Now here in our string pattern, we don't have to type out the percent signs. We only type out filled. So what we have on line 4 is exactly identical to what we have on line 3. Let's execute this query. We get the same result. Beautiful. Now here in regular expressions, we have additional characters that we don't have when we use the like operator. For example, we can use the caret sign to indicate the beginning of a string. So if I put a caret just before the word filled, that means our last name must start with filled. Obviously, if we execute this query, we don't get anyone that matches this criteria. So we use the caret sign to represent the beginning of a string. We also have a $sign to represent the end of a string. So this pattern means the last name must end with filled. Let's execute this query. We get the same result as before. Now we can also search for multiple words here. For example, let's say we want to find the customers who have the words filled or Mac in their last name. So we use a pipe, a vertical bar, and type out another pattern. Let's execute this query. So here we have two customers. One of them has the word Mac. The other has the word filled in their last name. Now we can take this to the next level. Let's say we want to find the customers who have the words filled or Mac or Rose in their last name. Let's execute the query. We get 3 customers. Beautiful. So we use a pipe or a vertical bar to represent multiple search patterns. Now, as another example, we can change our first search pattern to something like this. Now this pattern means the last name should either start with the word filled, or it should have the word Mac in it, or it should have the word Rose. Let's execute the query. Now we get only 2 customers because our customer with the last name Brushfield doesn't match this pattern. However, if we change our first pattern to filled $sign and execute the query, we get 3 people here, 3 customers. So this is how we can combine multiple special characters when building a complex pattern. Now let's look at another example. Let's say we want to search for customers who have an E in their last name. So these are all the people, all right? Now let's say we want to make sure that before the letter E, we should either have a G or an I. So this is where we use square brackets. And inside the brackets, we add multiple characters like G, I, M, and that matches any customers who have GE or IE or ME in their last name. So any of these characters can come before E. Now let's execute this query. There you go. We only get 2 customers. In the first example, before E, we have I, which is one of the characters inside the brackets. In the second example, before E, we have a G, which is also another valid character before E. Now, once again, the square brackets don't have to be before E. We could add them after E. So any customers who have E followed by an F or an M or a Q in their last name can be returned with this pattern. Obviously, we don't have anyone in the database. So this is how we use square brackets. Now we can also supply a range of characters. For example, we can have E, and just before E, we want to have any characters from A to H. We don't have to type them out explicitly like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's very verbose. So we can type out A to H. And now if we execute this query, we get these 3 people. So let's quickly recap everything you learned about regular expressions in this tutorial. We use a caret to represent the beginning of a string. So beginning. We use a $sign to represent the end of a string. We use a vertical bar or a pipe to represent a logical OR. So we can supply multiple search patterns. We use square brackets to match any single characters listed in the brackets. And finally, we use square brackets with a hyphen to represent a range. So any characters from A to, let's say, F. Now, technically, MySQL supports more special characters, but quite honestly, the ones that I have listed in this tutorial are the ones that you'll be using 90% of the time. So just memorize these and you're good to go. Quite honestly, a lot of beginners find the syntax for regular expressions confusing. So in this video, I'm going to give you 4 exercises that I have carefully designed to help you quickly learn about this syntax. Here's the first exercise. Get the customers whose first names are Elka or Amber. And note that this is Amber with a U. Now for the second exercise, return the customers whose last names end with EY or ON. Here's the third exercise. Get the customers whose last names start with my or it contains SE. And finally, as the last exercise, return the customers whose last names contain B followed by R or U. So go ahead and spend 2 to 3 minutes on this exercise. When you're done, come back, continue watching. All right, let's knock out the first exercise. So we want to get all, there's a C here. Select star from customers where first name, regular expression. And here's our pattern. We want to search for 2 words, either Elka or Amber. Simple as that. Let's execute this query. We should get 2 customers. There you go, Amber and Elka. All right, now let's knock out the second exercise. So I'm going to delete this. We don't need it anymore. So we want to get the customers. Select star from customers where last name should end with either EY or ON. So in the search pattern, we type out EY followed by a $sign to indicate the end of a string. Then we add a vertical bar to supply the second search pattern. So ON and once again a $sign. Let's execute this query. Actually, I forgot to type out regular expression. There you go. So let's execute this query. And we should get these 4 customers with IDs 1, 3, 5, and 7. The first 3, their last names end with EY. And the last customer, his or her last name ends with ON. All right. Now let's work on the third exercise. So I'm just going to change the regular expression here. We want to get the customers whose last name starts with my or contains SE. So we use a caret to indicate the beginning of a string. So it should start with my or it should contain SE. Again, very easy. Let's execute this query. And we get the customers with IDs 4, 8, and 10. And finally, we want to get the customers whose last names contain B. So let's change the search pattern. We should have a B followed by R or U. Now, there are 2 ways to write this regular expression. We can use square brackets. So we have B followed by R or U. That's one way. The other way is to use a vertical bar. So BR or BU. These are both valid solutions. So I hope you knocked out these exercises. In the next tutorial, I'm going to show you how to get the records with missing values.